Here.
Robel?
Here.
Strumelberg? Present. Mayor Melham?
Here, pledge allegiance.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Notice that this meeting has been given to the press and public in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Law.
Minutes,
No minutes at this time, Mayor.
report of the manager.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. We had originally anticipated adopting our budget this evening, however, we're being held up by the state of New Jersey that want more information, they're requesting more information rather, on some of the revenues that were identified in that budget. We will probably need a special meeting on Monday to adopt that. We'll be meeting from now until then to resolve the issues, and if the revenues aren't accepted by the state of New Jersey, then we will cut the budget and have a reduction in force or whatever is necessary to get this budget approved. My next item is on Belleville, on September 19th on Belleville Avenue, we repaired a 12-inch sanitary sewer and replaced 40 foot of lateral. On September 24th, we had a water main break that was fixed at 246 Linden Avenue. We replaced the service there also. Also on the 24th, 92 Tyona Avenue, there was a water leak. We replaced that piping there. Since the last meeting, we've trimmed 23 trees. We've taken out 20 stumps. We've completed 8 clean to leans. We've cut 30 township properties. We patched all of Little Street and Cortlandt Street. We repaired 5 street signs in addition to repairing 4 ball fields. We have 3 left that we need to do. We've collected over 200 yards of bagged vegetated debris and 150 yards of brush. That's all I have there.
Questions, members of the council?
I just have one quick one. Through the chair.
Sure.
Do we have any status on the paving of the roads? Like what roads are getting paved? Like,
There should have been a schedule that was posted on the website. I spoke with Mr. Herritz. I have it here. I believe all of the concrete work has in fact been completed. I believe the holdup is with the paving contractor, who's a sub to the company that actually was awarded the bid, which was Granada Instruction. And just trying to pull it up here. Yes, we're just when concrete work was done on Stephen Street, 924. On October 1st, concrete work will be done on Bernice Road. On October 14th, they will do concrete work on Belmore. On October 29th on Van Houten. From November 7th to November 21st, Smallwood, and then Mount Pleasant Avenue. And they are anticipating milling, paving with striping to follow. On October 14th, they hope to begin. And he's telling me that from October 21st to October 30th, Belmore, Bernice, Van Houten, Smallwood, and Mount Pleasant will be done.
Charles too, right?
I'm sorry?
I'm assuming Charles is in there.
I'm sorry, Charles, yeah, Charles, Cleveland, Wilson, Mayor, and Stevens.
Okay.
That's on there also. So this should be on the website for everyone to access. And just for everyone's edification, we began this process so that we wouldn't be doing this work so late in the year in February. All right, so we need to go back to the drawing board and tighten up these specifications, all right, so that this work is done in a much more timely fashion.
Thank you.
Comments? No? Report of the mayor? Good. So as usual, we keep trying to make things as accessible as possible. It's our second meeting in a row that I'm very disappointed at the fact that our Wi-Fi is still not working. It was tested today. Actually, I will clarify that. Last meeting, the Wi-Fi was not working, which is why we could not live stream. Today, the Wi-Fi is working, but our Wi-Fi is blocking streaming. I'm trying. I'm really trying. I do see a camera here, so if anybody does post that video anywhere online, post it to my Facebook page, and we'll definitely make sure we share it out there. So I apologize for that. I was going to instruct the council members to always speak into the microphones because we were waiting for our...
Mayor, if I might just interrupt the report of the mayor, which we all look forward to. What we're also investigating is a shared service for IT services, all right, with one of our neighboring municipalities, so that we don't run into this in the future, and we will be able to live stream everything, and we will have the ability. And I also believe on tonight's agenda, there is an item concerning an IT audit, so we know what our weaknesses are and what our strengths are if we have any.
Yep, I was
So
getting
I'm
to
sorry
that.
to interrupt.
So yeah, apologize for that. I do see a video here, though. If anyone wants to share that video, please do so. As was mentioned by Councilman Ravel, street work schedule and concrete and milling and paving schedules are posted. As we promised last week that was going to happen, are posted now on our website. I do want to mention just an upgrade we had, speaking of technology. We do have some new technology for our police department. That technology includes some GPS in there. And GPS isn't always a negative thing. We don't always necessarily use it to track vehicles, although it's a good asset to know where our fleet is at any time. It also gives us information on mechanical issues, and it also actually protects our officers at times when they could be in question on where they were at a certain time. So that said, I would love, since I do know that software is expandable, I would love Manager Tucci to explore the notion of maybe adding that type of service to all township vehicles, just to get a feasibility on that and see what that would cost, so we have tracking and mechanical alerts on all of our vehicles for that. I was at our Belleville High School football game. Our Bucks are 3-0, by the way, and I was there for the... Go Bucks! We celebrated the 40th year anniversary of the Bucks. We also celebrate the 1978 football team there. The field does look good. Some of the surrounding grounds look great. I know there were some questions or issues raised. I think DPW got out there and cleaned it up. Of course, as you know, being in this business, there's always somebody that's... but there's still some work to be done there, I think. One person did point out that I would love to address. I think we're still waiting. It may even be a Board of Education issue, but they were going to help us out with that POW chair. So I know that you're aware of that, so we could just make sure that we're looking out for that. We do have some upcoming events. There's a lot of firsts happening here in Belleville. A lot of people seem excited about that. We do have an upcoming, we have our Columbus Day celebrations. We have about 8 or 9 different events townwide, from a parade that we share with Nutley, to a reception dinner, to a flag raising here at Town Hall. So there's a lot of things going on for Columbus Day. Stay tuned to the website for that information. We are having our first ever food truck festival and live music fest. That will also feature a classic car show. That's coming up on Friday, October 12th. I think that takes care of most of the events that are happening in October. I like to always kind of look forward to things that we're planning ahead of that. We do have our upcoming Veterans Day parade/celebration. We've actually met with the heads of some of the veterans organizations a couple weeks ago in my office. I was told by some of the members that attended that meeting that was the first time that had ever happened, where we brought them in, they got a chance to sit with me, hear some ideas, share some feedback back and forth. So we're looking to work with them for that. We're also looking to not only just do that, but enhance that with a first ever Veterans Day 5K run, with proceeds going to directly assist our veteran organizations and/or scholarship in their names to either students in high school that are going off to the service or students that have a family member potentially serving for that. So we're looking to do that in November. Other than that, Manager Tucci, I know we're getting late. We just discussed a potential special meeting for the budget. I want to know kind of where we stand. I think we have 2 labor contracts that are still out and open, and we have not settled them yet. So just math-wise here, we're basically going to be getting 2018 done in late September. I do not find that acceptable. I mean, I understand what's happening here. Going forward, we are looking, I think as a body, we're in agreement that we're looking to get the 2019 budget done soon, like February, March, April. I know we're contingent upon the state approving it and all that. I just put that out there because the 2 labor unions that are still out kind of need to know that. That if they're not in and negotiating with us soon, they might be looking at 2020, because our 2019 budget, we're looking to wrap up pretty earlier in the year.
In accordance with the Faulkner Act, that process will begin this November.
Yep. I get you. I do see our chief here. Our chief is one of 2 directors that are actually in the room. Actually, no, we have 2 chiefs here. We have fire chief, police chief,
Superintendent.
Joint chiefs here.
and DPW superintendent. So we have 3 director-level representatives here today that are sitting here. The chief has been working closely with us. We've gotten a lot of complaints about speeding. That has been perpetual with everything that I've heard since we've been in office. We rang 6,000 doorbells during the election. Everything was speeding, speed bumps, everything else. The chief did some great initiatives. We do have data on that. That data has been shared with, I think, the entire council and the manager, where we did traffic studies, where we did speed traps, how many violations were issued, how many summonses were issued, what the average speed was. As a matter of fact, I don't think anybody would know the fastest street in Belleville. But if you're not willing to take a guess, the fastest street in Belleville is in Rutan Estates. It's Bernice Road. It's actually the fastest
Because you're going
street
into Nutley.
that was clocked in Belleville. It's actually a cut through from Geralama Street through Nutley into Route 3.
Yeah.
And we also know that a lot of GPSs will redirect you down that road as a cut-through street. It's actually the fastest street in Belleville clockwise. So that's that. I think that kind of does it for my final question I have, Mr. Tucci. Can we get an update on by Franklin Avenue crosswalk? I know we started looking at some pricing for the blinking lights for the crosswalk by Wendy's and Chandelier. I think we had said that the town engineer was going to add that to one of our road projects.
That is correct.
I really want to get that done.
I will get you an update.
Thank you.
They said we can do it?
Oh, yeah, no, we can do it. The council passed a hold harmless agreement to the county, to County Road. I was under the impression, since it had never been done before, and there had been deaths there,
Yeah.
that it was a substantial investment. It is like a $15,000 investment for 2 poles. I just can't unconscionable why that was never done, especially since we've had multiple deaths and fatalities there.
And we did ask for it a bunch of times.
We've asked, but there comes a point where we ask the county and then we just do it.
Good.
The county is willing to let us do it on their road, but they don't have the money in their budget, so this is our municipality, it's our people that have been killed. I think it's kind of our priority at this point.
We got it.
So we don't have it formally on the agenda, but in this quick little report section here, we've been mentioning about different council committees being formed. They all have a I think a few councilors may have a very, very brief update on some of the specific things that they've been working on. So we'll just go right down the road. Councilor Graziano?
Yes, I'd like to, good evening, everybody, and I'd like to share with you meeting Naomi and myself, which was mentioned last month, that we are part of the Board of Education, meaning a liaison to the Board of Ed, which faces off to Dr. Tomko and President Christine. That said, we are working very close with them, and we're looking at putting up lightning rods at 5 locations around the schools and for a detection, so when lightning's coming, it's safe for the kids. That's one initiative we're working as a joint venture. The scoreboard, there was a lot of complaints that we've been talking about, we've been getting from the people, and we're actually looking into pricing 4 new scoreboards at the football field. The Friendly House, we have, I know Mr. Tucci and Dr. Tomko have discussed, and the cheerleaders, the high school cheerleaders, are working or using the Friendly House. So thank you very much, and that's a good thing, and hopefully the rec will follow so they can keep getting better and better. What else do we have? Yesterday's meeting, as we discussed, we talked about with Dr. Tomko and Chris, traffic patterns for the schools, which Dr. Tomko will be reaching out to Chief Medicini on, recommendations. How can we make it safer and drop-off points? So that's just a high level of some discussions that's been going on in the past month.
Councilman?
I'm most interested right now into the Silver Lake Firehouse. I understand that in October it's going to open. So I'm really looking forward to that and everybody else. We really need to get that open with the fires and everything that we've had in the area. Also, on the Friendly House, the building was really supposed to be for, tricky trays, recreation, and anything, maybe even your civic association if you have things. And I think we should incorporate that. So we did discuss that we will get a committee together and see what we can do to get everyone involved in that. Even the children in the area that live right there, they have nowhere to go. So if we can get that started, I think we, could do a good job with the children there. That's about it.
Deputy Mayor?
We had a meeting on Friday, tomorrow, in regarding the theater arts program. We had the two women that actually work with the program from the Parks and Rec Department in Nutley. Both women really know what they're doing. They're very, very good. We also had at the meeting the artistic production team. We had James Miles III, who is the director, and his wife Abby Miles, who is the producer. It was a very productive meeting, and this is what we came up with. We would have two phases to this program. The first phase would take place this February, where we would have theater arts classes for students grades 3 through 8 under the guidance of the Recreation Department. Again, the theater arts team would bring in a theater director to teach these classes. Again, grades 3 to 8, improvisational games, mini monologues, audition preparation. And this would be a feeder program for the fall, because we decided that really the best time to put on the production, it would be too soon to do something in the spring. So the best time to put on the production would be in the fall. It would be a junior production, and it's not really our job to choose a play, but the consensus was probably going with Annie as the first show, because more girls do try out, and there's a lot of parts in that show. So that was the consensus. It would be in the fall. We would hire, hopefully we could hire this team. The producer, Abby Miles, her job would be to oversee the production staff, which would be the director, the choreographer, the musical director, the stage manager. There would be one person in the rec department that would be working closely with her. Nutley's been doing this for 10 years. Other towns have been doing this. When Nutley first started with it, it was struggling, like everything does when we first get started. They're now doing very well. They have made in their last production, which was Shrek, they made, it was budgeted for $18,000, and they made $11,000. So they're doing very well with ticket sales. We would need, again, we would need the high school facility. So Tom Graziano and Naomi, your names did come up as liaison to the Board of Ed. Once we get things in place, and once we hire this team, and Abby Miles, she was on board. Her husband is the director. He doesn't know if he can do it, but he will find us someone. But once we come up with the team, if the two of you could speak with Dr. Tomko, and he would petition the board to see if we could use the high school facility. They would need that for rehearsals, and they would also need that for the show dates, which would be sometime next fall. That we will get back to you on. So again, it was a very productive meeting. I'm asking that we incorporate this in the 2019 budget. Again, this would be under the rec department, as I said from the get-go, and many of you up here agree with me, and I know, Naomi, you're very supportive of this. Sports are great, but not every child likes sports, so this would be something that we would be expanding in the rec department. I don't foresee anybody really going against this, because basically what you're saying is that you're denying the kids to have something of this nature. The reason we don't want to do this for high school is because high school does have a drama program. I believe they offer drama at Belleville High, and they also put on a production in the spring. So that's where we are at this point. Thank you. And wow, your team there is very, very good. I have to say. Very, very good.
They are good. Councilwoman?
Yes, I just want to update everyone in our preschool program. We continue to work in enrolling new students. We still have some available spots, so if anyone knows of families that still haven't had a chance to enroll in the program, we are looking to begin on October 1st. And I am aware there was some miscommunication. Some people thought that we were changing the cost of the program, and I want to clarify that there is no additional cost. We are charging $200 a year, which is what the charge was last year. It remains the same, regardless whether the township is taking a loss, but we will continue to provide the program, although we are taking a loss, in order to be able to provide the service to the families. And so we still have space. If there's anyone else that's still interested, please do spread the word. Ms. Carroll's been getting ready, as Mr. Augusta, and we're looking into opening October 1st, which is this Monday.
I just want to talk real quick on technology. Can you guys hear me all right? I talked to Councilman Graziano and Councilman Cosarelli, and I've also talked to them on 3 separate occasions, not together, by the way. And, you know, one of the things we're going to see today is we're going to actually do an audit, and the audit will hopefully give us some insight as to what else we need to do to make things better for our constituency. Mauro, I think you were also telling us about an IT shared services that we're going to, agreement that we're getting there. Mark, I just had a real quick question. I don't know if people realize that we made a change in the police department. We went to, I think, Lawsoft. Is that what we went to? So we just did that.
We're online.
We're online. So.
That's where we got to interact with GPS. We
So-
made some progress.
Yeah. So we're moving ahead. Anyway, I'm good.
We do have our Fire Chief Caruso here. Chief, are you able to address, are you prepared at all to, I mean, I don't mean to kind of call on you out of the blue, but we got the spot, but.
Give me a topic here.
Silver Lake Firehouse.
Yeah, I spoke to the manager over the last couple of weeks, as late as this afternoon. I really did anticipate that the budget would have moved tonight, so that's kind of going to possibly delay something, but we're still targeting mid to late October, somewhere around the 3rd week or so to get the door open. We do need some funds to get some of the basics in there, and I think some of the things we could possibly push off to 2019 to get this thing rolling. So targeting the 22nd or the 29th.
Questions? No? Good?
Good.
All right, thank you. Communications?
A notice received from Safe Valley Sewage Commission of a public hearing regarding the City of Newark's appeal for 3rd and 4th quarter assessment of the 2018 user charges. The public hearing is on Tuesday, October 9 at 10 a.m. in the Safe Valley Sewage Commission Public Meeting Room located at 600 Wilton Avenue in Newark. The letter received from Richard Perugia, Vice Commander, Belleville, American Legion Post 299, supporting the Mayor and Council's commitment to the Veterans Day Parade.
Okay, ordinances.
Ordinance number 1 for introduction, and ordinance to amend the revised general ordinances of the Township of Belleville, Section 16-8.30, regulation of rabbits, pigeons, and fowl.
Move for introduction.
Second.
Motion made second, clerk call the roll.
Councilwoman DePena?
Yes.
Councilmember Graziano?
Yes.
Nattari?
Yes.
Robel?
Yes.
Strumelberg?
Yes.
Mayor Melham?
Yes. Make a motion for comments.
Make a motion for public comments.
Second.
Motion made second, clerk call the roll.
Councilwoman DePena?
Yes.
Graziano?
Yes.
Nattari?
Yes.
Robel?
Yes.
Strumelberg?
Yes.
Mayor Melham?
Yes. At this point, we're going to open up for public commenting. Kind of new to Belleville is the fact that we're asking certain people who have a specific issue or complaint to sign in either prior to the meeting, which you'll always find outside, or after the meeting here. It's not a requirement. We only ask that you state your name and record, your name and address for the record. We do ask that if you want to supply the additional information, only if you have a specific question or an issue that you want us to address and maybe track down an answer for you, give you some assistance maybe tomorrow. That's the best way, if we have contact information, to actually get back a hold of you. So that said, we are limited to a 5-minute public commenting portion. I ask that you state your comments. Everything comes through the chair. For those of you who are here or kind of new to these meetings, it's not really a back and forth conversation. It's really your opportunity to take your time and say what you want to say. If any council member, through the chair, have a response or an answer, we'll do so after you conclude your commenting. Okay? Sorry for being repetitive for those of you who are always here, but we do have some new faces here. Sir?
Come up to the front.
Sure.
Come on, I don't want to kill myself here. What's his name, Vinny?
We'll sit on that side.
Mayor,
Just
Councilman
before you
Lavelle.
start, sir, please just state your name and record and address for the record.
William H. Stein, 84 Tyona Avenue, Belleville, New Jersey. I was the commander of Chapter 22, Disabled American Veterans. I'm now a past commander, and up until lately, I was the parade organizer, and let me go into that. Typically, every year, the town council has voted to pay for the Veterans Day Parade. So this year, we had a meeting, the Veteran Service guys with Mayor Malham, and we discussed veterans issues. He did bring up a 5K run, but it wasn't specific as to the date. Also was brought up that I also instructed him that traditionally, the Belleville Veterans Council runs the parade. As a military retiree, I believe in military traditions, and you all know me, I've been running the parade for the last 6 or 7 years. So anyway, also during that meeting, it was brought up that the cost of the parade, which typically costs around $8,000 every year, that's to pay for the band, the floats. One we have specifically made for, designed for Henry Swella, which cost us like $1,200. So anyway, we spent about $8,000 on the parade. At the end of that meeting, I believe I did ask you, should I go ahead and get the bands, and you said yes. I could be wrong, but anyway, I started to work on the parade. I already invited all the Essex County dignitaries. I've got a guest speaker coming from the U.S. Army War College, which is a big deal for him because he got to do the speech in order to graduate from the War College. Okay, so after sending all this out, I was called by the town manager, Mr. Tucci, who we have a pretty good relationship with, but when he told me to stop sending out the flyers, that the mayor wanted to go in a different direction, I immediately got pissed off and hung up on him. Later that day, I calmed down, I called him and we talked to that.
Just let me correct you. I asked him, I told him that we would like to discuss going in a different direction.
Well, I may have missed that.
Right.
Well,
Well, probably hanging up, so that's
but,
probably fine.
no, but I called you back
You
later.
did, you did. I
And we,
understand. So it's passionate.
you took my point, like your
Yes,
point, mayor's point, and you did say that we would get together
Yes.
for the meeting to discuss this issue, which never happened. And like I said, everything's already gone out the door. I already
Only
got
last
like,
week, but go ahead.
I already have 4 bands, Belleville, possibly Weehawken, Kearney. What's the other one? Jeez. Well, anyway, Dolly Emerald, just that. Anyway, I've been doing this for a long time, and every year the parade is getting bigger. Okay? The more bands, the more residents, everybody's more happy. So I am just asking, every year we do it the Sunday before the Veterans Day Parade. I am just asking if the town's council is going to approve the funds for the parade on Sunday, November 11th, 2018. So that's where I'm at with this thing, because I've been getting secondhand stories. Other people seem to be dealing with the mayor. The mayor's not talking to me at all. And I've been threatened already by a few people that you deal with, Mayor. And I'm not too happy about that, okay? I was threatened tonight by this guy back here, Mr. Sweller. who's half bombed out of his gourd or whatever.
We're gonna
But I'm gonna tell you,
keep the comments this way,
Keep it
please.
this way. Stop, stop.
Stop.
You go on Facebook and call someone
Eddie.
a piece of shit.
I didn't say that.
Yeah, you did.
I said
got a
keep
snapshot.
Hey, this ain't the place for that.
Snapshot.
This is not the place for that.
So, we
Let's
don't
get the
want.
business
Where
done.
you get your information. That's the
You'll have your
problem.
chance if you want to speak. Yeah.
I understand, officer, I understand.
That's why, but it helps if you direct your comments this way, this way, you don't have
Stand
to talk about anybody else behind you.
Well, you know, we've had issues with this gentleman in the past.
That's got really
I
nothing
know
to
you
do
said-
with this and that.
Well, it did have to do with the Veterans Day Parade and him knocking the reputations of the American Legion, Richie Holt, myself, the DAB, and,
With all due respect, Mr. Steinwell, it's got nothing to do with the parade.
all right. Well, I just want to know
Stay with the
that
parade.
it's the town council going to pay for the parade for November 11th this year. And that's the end of my comments.
Thank you,
You
sir.
know,
Thanks, Billy.
and, well, that's it. Forget
That's
it.
good.
Ma'am?
Me?
Yes.
Thank you. You want me to come up here?
Sure.
Mary Higgins, 148 Brighton Avenue, Belleville. This is following up on what veteran Billy Stein said. I want to know, why is there any equivocation with sanctioning and funding the Veterans Day Parade this year when there was never a problem with it before? Why hasn't veteran Billy Steimel, who has done such an outstanding job for years and years of organizing the parade, being given the runaround that it doesn't justify the township funding? Excuses such as, well, there's not a big turnout every year, is a bold-faced lie. Maybe the mayor, who has lived outside of Belleville for years in the recent past, could make such a statement. Ironic, since he was never seen attending nor participating in the Belleville Veterans Day Parade. All of a sudden, one of Belleville's time-honored traditions is being replaced with the 5K run. As a retired school administrator and public school teacher for more than 25 years, including being a Belleville school teacher number 7, and a daughter of a Belleville veteran who served as a Seabee in World War II, my father, who volunteered. I cannot stress strongly enough the importance of involving our children in our Veterans Day Parade, not a 5K run. Kids aren't going to run in a 5K run. I've witnessed their proud, smiling faces marching up and down Union Avenue in Belleville for years. Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, marching school bands, and the children standing on the sidewalks with their parents and grandparents waving American flags and cheering the parade on. It also serves to raise the consciousness of our children, of our Belleville veterans and veterans everywhere, past and present, who sacrificed for our great country. Nothing can replace this, especially not a corporate-backed 5K run. Money, money, money. Is that what it's all about? To place self-serving interests, both political and financial, ahead of honoring our great veterans is shameful, unpatriotic, and a disgrace to Belleville.
Mr. Frantantoni?
It's Vincent Frank Antoni, 129 Mount Prospect Avenue. Just a little thing here,
I'm sorry.
well, I just want to remind you, which I've been doing for the last 15 years, summer's over, not one single street was sealed, the cracks were sealed. Preventive maintenance is probably not a priority of our town manager. In regards to this, the rumor going around is that they want to put this 5K race on Veterans Day. Veterans Day, I have no problem with 5K races. I've been involved in many of them. In Belleville, as director of Chamber, one of the directors of Chamber of Commerce, we had them back in the 60s. I was involved with them in the 70s. The Board of Ed had a Sam Giuffrida 5K race in Belleville, which my wife's uncle in our age group at 75 won, and then he died at the finish line. Fortunately, Mountainside paramedics brought him back to life on that one. But it should not be on Veterans Day. Veterans Day parade should be to honor the veterans. Now, you got two folks up there that said they're the liaison.
Ben, I don't mean to interrupt you, but if it saves you for the rest of your 3.5 minutes, the 5K run is not on Veterans Day. It's on the Saturday before Veterans Day, so continue.
Okay, well, we want to...
I just figured that might save
There's
you.
been a lot of, you could say their rooms. If their room is their room, it's all right?
Right.
But we just want to keep the Veterans Day parade on that day, only for the Veterans Day parade to honor our veterans, all right?
We all agree.
Who have died in that Memorial Day,
We all agree on
but
that.
some who are still here, all right? And we want to keep that day to remember them and to honor the ones that are still living and who have sacrificed for us and all that. So I hope that's expelled, and I hope what everybody, you speakers are talking about, I hope we continue, but you know, we've got a $67 million budget, 8,000 is minuscule, all right? It's a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of 1%. You got plenty of money to give raises, you know, $150,000, $200,000 salaries. 8,000 for our veterans is something that we got to do. So hopefully we do it. And you have two liaisons to the Board of Ed. They can get to contact the children, to encourage all the children to show up. Let them work with the Board of Ed. And let's really have a good turnout of school children, the high school band, and all the other ones. That's what their liaisons, let them work, and let's really have a good Veterans Day parade this year.
I agree.
In regards to resolution 9, you only have block and block number. What's the address of it?
That is Industrial Property, Main Street. I don't know the exact address. Do we
All
have
right,
the
and
address?
10, what's the address of number 10?
That is Washington Avenue. I don't know the addresses offhand. Washington Avenue. The old Bigelow, the empty lot on Washington Avenue.
That's not Bigelow's empty lot. Bigelow's lot was developed.
Corner of William and...
72, what is it?
78-100 Washington
Where the
Avenue.
cars were, they used to park the cars.
It's a used car lot.
The used car lot.
Yeah, the corner of William and Wash. William and Wash.
Once again, hopefully, you're not planning on giving him a pilot. You know, if we're spending money on engineering services, we're gonna pay engineers to come up with a redevelopment plan, to let the planning board declare an end to redevelopment, so you can give these guys a tax abatement and let the rest of the taxpayers subsidize his development, which he was approved over a dozen years ago. It's not gonna sit well with the residents. We don't need it. And all this high-rise development, I've been saying for years, it's a bubble, it's gonna break. And sure enough, look at the headlines recent. Since its population may be swinging back to the burbs. As you read it, these millennials, yes, they're moving into these high rental things, until they have children. And then they want the one-family homes. And I have, my cousin's a property manager, they're already having problems renting these high-rise rental apartments. So let's not push them in Belleville, because then we're gonna get stuck with them, and we're gonna wind up down the future like Councilman Burke had to do, remember Audubon Place? When it was there, the problems we had, that's what those kind of houses turn into after 20, 30 years.
Thank you, sir. Sir?
Anthony Savella, SVEHLA. I am the last person to be against veterans. First of all, I am a veteran. I couldn't wait to join the Army when I was 17 years old, because I had 5 uncles who fought in World War II, and one who was killed in Korea. Billy Steinwell never wanted to work with anyone. If Mr. Cosarelli was here today, he could tell you that 8 years ago, we were brought upstairs to the town manager before Mr. Tucci's office, and we were supposed to get a committee together to get more participation in the Veterans Day Parade, because there was nothing sadder than walking down that parade route with a senator and a congressman and no one on the sidewalk. Okay?
Point of
I've
order.
done anything,
Sorry.
everything I could to make that parade a hit. Anything I could. When Mr. Steinle purchased that float for my uncle, the first year he came down the street with one man in a wheelchair. The second year he came down with all of school number 4. My doing, no one else's. Mr. Steinle couldn't lead a horse to water.
Thank you, sir.
I'd like to reply to that.
You can't, Bill,
Bill,
sorry.
He's not a veteran.
Okay, thank
Okay, he
you.
doesn't have to do
That's
it
not
by
right.
14.
Yeah, he
No,
stole the
number
Marine
one.
flag, why don't you address that?
I want to see
We're
it.
we're not gonna have everybody screaming, we're not gonna
see
do it. We're not gonna do it. Mr. Savella, it's just,
No problem,
next,
Mayor.
ma'am.
No problem.
Phyllis Frantantoni, I'm Prospect Avenue in Belleville. I hope that the council is going to support and pay for the Veterans Day Parade. I have a 97-year-old uncle who was a veteran of World War II. He is so proud of it that every time I see him, he takes the book out and shows me everything that he's been through and stuff like that. I've had uncles in the Army, in the Navy,
Ms.
in
Frantantoni, again,
and all that
if it
stuff.
speeds
Wait a
everything up, we have no intention on not doing a Veterans Day parade.
Well, the rumor is that you
But
don't.
it's a rumor, it's been dispelled.
Well, it's
I don't
all
believe
over the
it.
state because he lives in South Jersey and called me up and said, Phyllis,
Social
what is
media has
wrong
a
with
funny
your
way of
town
working like that. But
that
it
they
just,
don't want to
if it
support
saves
the
you the rest of your
veterans?
time to address other issues,
No,
by all means,
well, I
do so.
want to continue.
Okay.
And November 11th, I hope you do have the parade. My brother was a Vietnam veteran who died, and that is his birthday, and I would really appreciate if that is
Thank you.
when you have the parade.
I'm Grace Higgins, 148 Brighton Ave. Mr. Tucci, you're the Commissioner of Parks and a resident of Nutley. Was there ever a problem of the Nutley Township funding the Nutley Memorial Day Parade?
Sure.
No?
I'm aware of it.
Okay, well then why is funding the Veterans Day Parade for Belleville now a problem?
There was a problem.
It isn't.
Wait,
Well,
if-
you're gonna replace it with a 5K run? Who's gonna run in a 5K run, the disabled veterans?
We're not replacing it with a 5K run.
Okay, can I finish, please? I get my 5 minutes.
You do.
It has been brought to our attention that people who cannot produce their veterans credentials are now pretending they are veterans.
Ma'am, I'm gonna
They
need-
are slamming the Belleville Veterans Day Parade and being solicited to replace it with a 5K run. This is a pathetic attempt to undermine our true veterans and our long tradition in Belleville.
Thank you. Ma'am?
Yeah, I would just like to ask a question. Are you having the parade?
Yes.
Then, okay, thank you.
You're very welcome. Appreciate it. I said it during the mayor's report. I've said it 3 times.
How many more times you
Sorry.
We aren't doing it. Not doing it.
Scott Higgins, Maple Avenue. I was just wondering, what'd you guys do on Friday? Last Friday? Well, last Friday was POW MIA Remembrance Day. What I did, I went to my American Legion Post 105, which I'm one of the commanders of. Set up our POW MIA table. Had a meal there for it, and a nice cold glass of beer. And when that beer got warm, I had the bartender dump it, pour a fresh one there. I personally don't know of any in my family POW MIAs, but I respect every veteran in the American history. Now, in November of 1989, I was only in the Army maybe 2.5 years, but I found myself sitting in the driver's compartment of an M68-3 tank, pointed at the Fulda Gap. None of our crew members or anything knew what was going on. But unbeknownst to me and the rest of my crew, we were witnessing the freedom of a country when the fall of communism came down. I was there when the Berlin Wall came down. Fast forward maybe 10 months later, we're now in Saudi Arabia with 2 battalions of M1 Abrams tanks and a battalion of British Champion tanks going through Kuwait and into Iraq. Now, ever since then, I've always loved being a veteran. I love America, and I just feel you have to give this parade a blessing for all the veterans everywhere. You know, and the 5K run is great, but don't put like veterans on it, except 'cause I feel it's what's it called? Stolen valor, because you're trying to promote veterans, but in my feelings, I don't think it's being done that way. But just don't forget, you know, those colors don't run.
Thank you.
Sir?
You're a vet too, aren't you?
Obviously, I'm $3, but
Oh, boy.
Oh, boy.
I don't know if you can answer. Anybody know the status of the track? Proposed track? You have to answer now.
Sure.
We're concerned with perceptions and how things look, especially on Washington Avenue. Go to Belleville Avenue, the entrance, the old entrance to the police station. Boxes piled up. Anyway, you could see right through the doors. Get a cheap shower curtain and a rack and hide. Okay. Other than that. On
Vic, real quick, through the
July
chair.
27th,
You're a vet too, right? Yes.
combat vet, yes.
Okay.
On July 27th, I had a memo to Mr. Tucci concerning storm sewers. I live on Continental, but I'm on the corner, so I'm talking about the sewers on Celia Terrace. The one by me is collapsing severely, and I brought that to the attention. Also, they're the old sewers, so the openings are large. I recommended welding a bar across so you have a smaller gap. There's also a sewer across the street which is full of garbage. I was told, as far as my sewer, you need a mason. We have a long list of mason jobs, and we do not have a mason. I heard nothing about welding the bar. The one across the street, they don't have the equipment to clean out a sewer. Now, again, I'm older than all of you. Back in the day, you needed 2 hands, a shovel, and possibly a post digger, and maybe a pitchfork to loosen it up, and it was clean. Anyway, I also brought pictures, one for you and one for the mayor, of the sewer question. Again, the first one is a side view, shows the hole in the front and the hole before you get to the sewer. Second one shows the same, it's a front view. Notice that it's not just the macadam that is broken, the concrete road underneath is also collapsing. Third picture shows you more of a close-up of the hole to the left. And, oops. Sorry, my pages are stuck. Anyway, the fourth one shows you actually looking under the grate through this hole here. And that goes right through to the sewer. So it is a dangerous area. Anybody walking, riding a bike, wheeling a baby carriage, and cars run over it when they go to park on city terrace. So I just wanted to give you a visual of the problem. Thank you.
Through the chair, Vic, I got a quick question. The one at the base of Carpenter, are they okay?
Yeah.
Those are all
I
right?
didn't see any flooding today.
Okay, good, that's positive. Thanks.
Mayor, if I might,
Sure.
this request was given to Mr. Harrods along with several others, and they will be addressed.
Terry Street, Main Street's another one.
Okay. Around the time, I was so
Thank you for bringing
I
that
don't know,
up.
I'm telling you that.
Thanks, Vic.
Don't believe it.
Sir in the back, I know you've been waiting.
I'm the chaplain of the Post 105, and I have a poem here that I'd like to...
Can you just, sir, I'm
address.
sorry to interrupt you. Can you state your name and address for the record?
My name is Nicholas Pietropalo. I live at 21 Mertz Avenue in Belleville, New Jersey. I'm a chaplain of the Post 105. I'm a Vietnam combat veteran with my buddy Mafucci over here with the 196. And my brother John with the 25th. Anyway, it is the soldier and not the minister who has given us freedom of religion. It is the soldier and not the reporter who has given us freedom of the press. It is the soldier and not the poet who has given us freedom of speech. It is the soldier and not the compass organizer who has given us freedom to protest. It is the soldier and not the lawyer who has given us the right to a fair trial. It is the soldier and not the politician who has given us the right to vote. It is the soldier who salutes the flag, who serves beneath the flag, and whose coffin is draped by the flag, who allows the protester to burn the flag. All I'm saying is that if you deny us the right to march in our Veterans Day parade, it's a disgrace upon you and your council.
Yeah, baby.
You can't make a more strong statement than that.
Then we're telling you,
They
we're
keep
having a
saying
parade.
that we're doing a parade.
Whoever told you otherwise,
I
it's
just
just
Sir,
Michael Sheldon, 47 Flood Street. I have two comments to make, neither of which have to deal with the Veterans Parade
Thank you.
or the 5K run. Even though both my parents enlisted in the Army in 1954 through 57 and were stationed in West Germany, so I know the value of service to our country. First comment, through the chair, just a minor correction to Mr. Graziano. He's referred to the devices as lightning rods. They're not lightning rods. Lightning rods are designed to attract lightning. These are lightning detectors. Lightning discharges produce a lot of RF noise, but the unique thing about lightning is that lightning produces a characteristic 500 kilohertz signal with a small bandwidth, and that's what lightning detectors pick up. By the way, last month...
Mike, 1 second.
Yes.
Thank you.
It's okay. Last month, the board approved the 5 units, so that's already in the hopper. I think you said earlier that you were hoping for the units to be procured, but we did vote. The board approved the acquisition of 5 units. I think there's some agreement that the township will be reimbursing the Board of Education for some of the units, but those should already be on order, and so hopefully they'll be up very, very soon. The other comment I want to make is, yes, I am the one with video camera. Over the last 4 years, I've made well over 100 videos, not only of planning board, zoning board meetings, but just the party events, flag raisings, etc. I make the videos Freely Valley. I've done this as a community service. It had nothing to do with my former role as township manager. Anyone who wants to use the video, they're there for your viewing pleasure. So if you want to, I recorded last month's meeting or the previous meeting. This one will be up on YouTube, our YouTube channel within the next 24 hours. Do whatever you want with it. You can put it on the new township website. I think you probably know the link, but if you don't, certainly Mr. Martino and Mr. Tucci know the links to my YouTube channel.
Sure.
So
Good. Thank you.
use them as you wish. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir?
Richard Oak, 116 Union Avenue. I'm the commander of American Legion Post, Washington Avenue here. Now, it's been said tonight, Mr. Mayor, that we're going to have the parade, but is Belleville going to fund the parade?
Belleville has always funded the parade.
Yes.
Contrary to popular belief that was said earlier that the council votes to award the money, that has never happened before. The money comes out of the recreation budget. It's always been there. The council has never ever voted to award money that was previously said. We are not voting to take it away. As a matter of fact, on the new business, I'm going to explain how we're actually enhancing it and what we're doing to actually raise money that directly goes to our veteran organizations. This is why this whole circus today is kind of unbelievable to me. We're actually raising money directly for our individual veterans organizations that participate in both the parade and the 5K run. Proceeds from the 5K run are going directly to our veteran organizations that participate in it. I'm speechless as to what's going on out here today. But thank you. Motion to close? No, you missed it.
Jerry Delgershio, 8 Grove Street. I have 2 questions. One resolution.
You only get 5 minutes, sir.
Well, I'll be done in 3. There's one resolution on the agenda for 18 Wallace Street. Are you buying the tax clearance certificate back? And if so, why?
I haven't seen 18. Yes, we'll let our esteemed township attorney answer.
It was sold incorrectly because the town had already taken the first tax sale certificate. So that individual is being reimbursed who bought it.
What do you mean the town had already gotten the first tax certificate?
There was a tax certificate that wasn't purchased. So the town assumed it. They couldn't then sell the second one. When it went to sale again, they should have sold it to sale again.
Oh, okay.
So we're buying it back from the town's not losing any money. Eventually, that money will be redeemed.
Will it be back on the agenda?
No. It just gets added to the previous. It'll get added to the continuing taxes. As you see, it's a small amount of money because it was a small tax. It's vacant land.
Right.
So the town will redeem the tax certificate that was wrongfully sold, but that money will just be added to the already amounts to due because the taxes that are already unpaid are continuing to accrue the same amount of interest.
So what I'm saying is this going to go back on the tax sale in December again?
No.
It won't?
No.
So who's going to be paying the taxes from now on?
Well, because of the original tax sale certificate that never was sold, we don't get them until it becomes a lien on the properties. Because they're not sold. They can't be sold because the original ones weren't sold. So they stay with the town. And eventually, it's still a lien on the property, so when the property we can foreclose on it, eventually we can foreclose on it.
But you can't sell for taxes anymore?
No.
Okay. The other thing is the ordinance you introduced. I think I read it thoroughly outside. And it's good. It limits to 6, I believe, rabbits and pigeons and fowl. I think there was one other item mentioned. Is there any limit for cats and dogs in the town?
Not on that ordinance.
I mean, on any ordinance?
I know we have cats, because I was actually here when we licensed cats.
I know we license, I mean limit.
Yes.
We do have a limit. Now, there's one thing in the ordinance that I think you should take into consideration, and that is in the event a person raises pigeons. We all know Joe Fornerado used to raise pigeons, and I don't know if he's limited to 6 or he had more than 6, but I think that should be taken into consideration as an exception also, in case somebody raises pigeons. Similar to the fowl being sold, I know all about that, that's on Bloomfield Avenue.
between Heckle and Belmont, we actually have a place that sells live fountain. Yes, so, that's all I have to say. Exactly 3 minutes. Motion to close. We have a motion.
Again,
We have a second. All right, so we close.
make a motion to close.
Motion made and seconded to close public comment. And clerk call the roll.
Councilwoman DePena.
Only because it's space.
Yes.
Councilmember Graziano.
Yes.
Nattari.
Yes.
Robel.
Yes.
Strumelob.
Yes.
Mayor Melham.
Yes. Right before we move on to the consent agenda, I was remiss, Councilman Graziano had a comment to make earlier.
Yes.
If you can make that
Through the
comment.
chair. So to answer Mr. Frantantoni's question, so thank you for that, for the Board of Education being,
Naomi.
with Naomi. Yes, in the past 2 years, if not longer, we have worked with Dr. Tomko and the president, and they do invite, you name it, they invite all the sports. We leave it up to the Board of Education to get that word out and to bring as many people as they can to support that parade. So that has been done, and hopefully, and we will continue going forward, because we were asked that yesterday in close.
Yeah, I'm going to discuss that in other new business. So we're done. We're actually going to consent.
Motion to move the consent agenda?
Second.
Motion made and seconded for the consent agenda. Any deletions? No. Polls, modifications? No. We do have an item for new business for those of you who are still on an old agenda, so if you want to stick around after that. And I want to comment on the Veterans Day
We're going to call roll on the...
parade, 5K, weekend. Motion made, second, clerk call the roll.
Councilwoman DePena.
Yes.
Graziano.
Yes.
Nattari.
Yes.
Robel.
Yes.
Strumelob.
Yes.
Mayor Melham.
Yes. New business?
New business, Mayor, I have a resolution authorizing the refund of $530 bail to Iris Markle.
Make a motion?
Second. Motion made, second, clerk call the roll.
Councilwoman DePena.
Yes.
Councilmember Graziano.
Yes.
Nattari.
Yes.
Robel.
Yes.
Strumelob.
Yes.
Mayor Melham.
Yes. I just want to add an item of my own under new business. I kind of went into it before during public commenting. I really do wish the veterans stayed. It seemed like they just wanted to make their point, and I'm glad we are videoing though, and the video will be available online. I did something quite unique when I first got into office, is I asked for a meeting with all the veterans organizations. For those of you who don't know my background, my father was a veteran. My father was a member of the DAV and the American Legion. My last vote on this council 18 years ago, prior to me driving many members of the DAV in my own car around town trying to find them land, I found them that land. That my last vote in 2004 on the council was actually a resolution to award them that land to build their property. So there's no one's going to ever question my dedication to veterans. I actually called them in because I am dedicated to veterans. So we called them in, and many of the members that came in said that they had never been to a meeting before with the mayor, that the mayor took an interest in sitting with them and hearing them out, and we actually want to work with them. There are a lot more wars that have been going on, and some of these veterans organizations really do cater to the older veterans. It's a great club for them, it's a great place for them to hang out, it's a great place for them to rent out their halls, but we have a lot of new, young veterans that are coming from these wars, and we're actually very interested in working with them. We've been in contact with a mobile truck in Bloomfield that's going to come to our different veterans organizations, look at their paperwork, see what programs they're available for. That said, our goal was literally to help them organize and raise them some more money. So typically we spend, the Belleville Township Council through our recreation department spends about $8,000 to $10,000. Actually, I asked for a little more documentation on that. It's actually less than that. It's around $6,000 to $7,500. That's what's budgeted for the parade. We wanted to do a parade with some changes to it, maybe shrink the distance a little bit, which would then actually get the few people that are on the streets in a more enclosed area and make it look more respectable to the veterans themselves. That's the first change that we wanted. And then we also wanted to, instead of those you might not know, but when you watch a parade and you see that Belleville has Shabazz High School and Central High School, all great marching band, we pay them between $700 and $1,000. So the thought was, let's actually make this more about Belleville. Let's bring in more Belleville organizations. I'd love to see the Women's Club there, see crew there, our Little League District champions there, our Boy Scouts there. Let's get our Belleville people there participating. Once we have Belleville children marching, we probably have Belleville parents and grandparents and aunts and uncles on the sides watching them. Increased participation. The notion that participation has increased in the last years is actually not true. We've had more people marching in the parade because we pay them to march in the parade, but it's actually a dishonor, I believe, to our veterans who do walk in it and there's nobody there watching it. So we just wanted to shrink the distance of it, work with the veterans organizations to slightly better organize it. Any money that's left over from maybe not bringing in outside bands and using our Belleville schools would actually go, and we've had this conversation with the manager directly to the veterans organizations in the form of scholarships or a monetary contribution. The 5K run that was scheduled and has always been scheduled on Saturday, the direct benefit of the Veterans 5K run was to raise money to give to the veterans organizations to offer scholarships, or the township will do a scholarship right in their name. I don't understand where this went sideways, but I know this is Belleville and this usually happens. This was actually a good thing. I do wish the veterans were still here, but maybe they'll watch the video. That was literally the plan. Nothing has changed about that plan at all. We have a meeting already scheduled in the manager's office tomorrow at 11 o'clock. Police department will be there, fire department will be there. We're going to sit there and talk about how we organize this year's upcoming event. Nobody ever talked about canceling. The word cancel was never mentioned. The word defunding was never mentioned. As a matter of fact, we want to actually organize it a little tighter, maybe not pay outside bands, utilize our own services in-house, and actually have money left over to give back to our veterans organizations. That's really the gist of it. I'm not quite sure where it went sideways, but it seemed to have gone sideways. This is Belleville. It happens. I get it. But that's really the gist of it.
They call it miscommunication.
Yeah, it's on purpose sometimes. But that's the end of it. That was new business. Other than that, we have a motion for adjournment.
Second.
Motion made and second. Clerk, call the roll.
Councilwoman DePena?
Yes.
Councilmember Graziano?
Yes.
Nattari?
Yes.
Gonzalez?
Yes.
Cooper?
Yes.
Mayor Melham?
Yes.